If I told you there is a weed, a fragile, feathery thing that grows in ditches and roadsides, that creates a biological explosion inside parasites, you might laugh. If I told you this same weed hunts cancer cells and detonates inside them like a smart bomb, you might call it science fiction. But if I told you the World Health Organization explicitly warns you not to use it, you would have to ask yourself, what are they protecting? This plant looks like nothing. Thin stems, delicate leaves, the kind of thing you would pull from your garden without a second thought. And yet this botanical whisper has done something that nuclear superpowers could not. In 1967, the Vietnam War was not being won by bullets. It was being lost to a microscopic parasite. Malaria was killing more American soldiers than combat. The most advanced military on Earth, satellites, jets, aircraft carriers, was being brought to its knees by a single-celled organism the size of a grain of sand. Chloroquine failed. Quinine failed. The parasites learned to resist everything modern science could throw at them. The world's most powerful armies stood helpless. And then someone opened an ancient book. What they found was not a new drug. It was not a synthetic compound. It was a recipe written in 340 AD for a common garden weed. A sleeping giant that had been waiting 1,600 years for humanity to remember its name. This is the story of Artemisia annua, the plant that won a Nobel Prize. The plant that the pharmaceutical industry is terrified you will learn to grow. They say it is dangerous to use the whole plant. They say you must buy the extracted pill. But for 16 centuries, nobody told the emperors of China that. Welcome to Verdant Vault. Before we open this vault, if these stories matter to you, the best way to preserve this wisdom is simple. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share these vaults with those who need to remember what we forgot. The archive opens in 340 AD in the Eastern Jin Dynasty in China. A scholar named Gu Hong is compiling an emergency medical handbook. He calls it Zhou Ho Bei Ji Fong, emergency prescriptions kept up one sleeve. Inside, he documents hundreds of remedies, but one stands out. For intermittent fevers, what we now call malaria, he prescribes a specific plant called Qinghao. His instructions are oddly precise. Take a handful of Qinghao, soak it in about 2 sheng of water, wring out the juice, drink it all. But here is what makes the prescription remarkable. He never says to boil it. For 1,600 years, that detail seemed insignificant. Then in 1971, it saved the world. On May 23, 1967, the Chinese government holds an emergency meeting in Beijing. They launch a secret military operation called Project 523, named for that date. The mission: find a cure before malaria decimates the military. They screen over 240,000 compounds. Nothing works. In January 1969, they bring in a quiet pharmaceutical chemist named Tu Yuyu. She is not a doctor. She does not have a PhD. She is essentially a librarian at the China Academy of Traditional Chinese Medicine. Her assignment is nearly impossible. Review 2,000 ancient medical texts. Find something modern science missed. She and her team screen 380 herbal extracts from over 200 plants. Most fail. One plant keeps appearing in the old texts, Artemisia annua, sweet wormwood. Initial experiments are frustrating. They boil the wormwood according to conventional scientific methods. The results are inconsistent. It works one day, fails the next. Tu is perplexed. The ancient texts clearly say this plant works. What are they missing? Then she remembers Gu Hong's instructions from 340 AD. He never mentioned heat. She realizes that boiling water destroys the weapon hidden inside. October 4th, 1971. Using a low-temperature ether extraction instead of boiling water, Tu successfully isolates a compound that shows 100% effectiveness against malaria in mice and monkeys. Not 90%, not 95%, 100%. But nobody knows if it is safe for humans. In an act of remarkable courage, Tu and 2 colleagues volunteer to be the first test subjects. She later said, "As head of this research group, I had the responsibility." They survived. Clinical trials followed. All 21 malaria patients in the first study recovered completely. They named the compound Qinghao. The world now knows it as artemisinin. So why does this plant work so well? Because Artemisia annua is not medicine. It is a hunter. Hidden inside its delicate leaves is a molecular weapon called an endoperoxide bridge, a rare chemical structure that reacts with one thing: iron. And here is where the plant becomes terrifying. Malaria parasites are gluttons. To survive, they must feast on the hemoglobin in your red blood cells. To do this, they gorge themselves on iron, hoarding 100 times more iron than a normal cell. They think they are building strength. They do not know they are swallowing a trap. When artemisinin enters the bloodstream, it does not attack randomly. It circulates. It waits. It searches for iron. The moment it encounters a cell bloated with stolen iron, the endoperoxide bridge recognizes the target. It latches on, and then it detonates. The bridge breaks apart, generating free radicals, essentially a microscopic bomb that explodes from the inside. The parasite is torn apart at the molecular level before it even knows what happened. This is not poison. This is a Trojan horse. The plant disguises itself as harmless. It slips past the defenses, and once inside the iron glutton, it reveals its true nature, a precision weapon that only destroys cells greedy enough to hoard what they should not have. The parasites die within hours, faster than any anti-malarial drug in history. But here is what makes the pharmaceutical industry nervous. Cancer cells are the same kind of gluttons. To sustain their rapid, uncontrolled growth, cancer cells require 5 to 15 times more iron than normal cells. They devour it. They hoard it. They are primed to explode. Since the early 1990s, researchers have discovered that artemisinin hunts cancer cells the same way it hunts parasites. Studies show the compound triggering apoptosis, programmed cell death, in leukemia, breast cancer, and colon cancer cells. The iron bomb does not care what species of glutton it finds. It finds cells hoarding iron, and it destroys them. According to World Health Organization estimates, artemisinin-based drugs have reduced global malaria mortality by over 20%. In Africa alone, more than 100,000 lives are saved every year. The Lasker Foundation called it arguably the most important pharmaceutical intervention in the last half-century. October 5, 2015. Stockholm, Sweden. Tu Youyou, now 84 years old, receives the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. She is the first mainland Chinese scientist to win a Nobel in a scientific category. She did it without a doctorate, without a medical degree, without training abroad, just ancient texts, and persistence. Her acceptance speech is titled, Discovery of Artemisinin, a gift from traditional Chinese medicine to the world. A gift, not a product, not a patent, a gift. So why does the World Health Organization explicitly recommend against using the plant itself? Their official reasoning: concerns about standardization, dosage variability, quality control, and the potential for developing drug resistance. But let us call standardization what it really is: monopolization. A plant that grows for free in your backyard cannot be patented. A plant that cannot be patented cannot generate shareholder value. A plant that anyone can grow threatens the entire infrastructure of pharmaceutical control. The global artemisinin pharmaceutical market was worth $75 to $96 million in 2024. Projections put it at $225 to $677 million by 2030. The artemisinin-based combination therapy market is even larger, $362 million in 2024, projected to reach $529 million by 2030. Major pharmaceutical giants like Sanofi have invested heavily in producing semi-synthetic artemisinin using genetically engineered yeast. This centralizes production. It eliminates the small farmer. It ensures artemisinin remains under corporate control. This is not healthcare. This is a cartel. The gatekeepers of modern medicine have decided that you cannot be trusted with a weed. That communities in malaria-endemic regions, people dying by the thousands, cannot be trusted to grow their own salvation. A packet of Artemisia annua seeds costs about $5 online. The plant thrives in poor soil. It requires minimal water. It produces multiple harvests per year. One backyard garden could supply anti-malarial tea for months. If people simply grew Artemisia in their gardens and prepared it according to traditional methods, they would not need to buy expensive pills from Novartis or Sanofi. They would be self-sufficient. And self-sufficiency is the death of the pharmaceutical business model. But there is an even darker pattern here. This is not the first time this plant family has been demonized for economic reasons. The plant has a cousin, Artemisia absinthium, better known as the primary ingredient in absinthe. In the late 19th century, absinthe was the drink of Europe. Van Gogh drank it. Oscar Wilde drank it. Hemingway drank it. They called it the Green Fairy. It was also blamed for madness, violence, and moral collapse. The catalyst came in 1905. A Swiss man named Jean Lanfray murdered his wife and 2 daughters. The press focused on 2 glasses of absinthe he had consumed. They ignored that he had also drunk cognac, brandy, creme de menthe, wine, and beer since breakfast. Prohibitionists seized the moment. They claimed wormwood caused psychosis. They invented a condition called absinthism. By 1915, absinthe was banned across Europe and the United States. The official reason was thujone, a compound in wormwood. The real reason? The French wine industry viewed cheap absinthe as competition. They lobbied for the ban. In the 1990s, scientists tested vintage pre-ban absinthe. Thujone levels averaged 1.3 milligrams per liter, far below anything toxic. The madness was a myth, a trade war disguised as public health. The European Union lifted bans in 1998. The United States followed in 2007. The parallel to today is obvious. Control the narrative about safety. Create regulatory barriers. Monopolize the extracted compounds. They did it for 100 years with absinthe. They are doing it now with Artemisia annua. Now here is the part they do not want you to know. The ancient method that Gu Hong described in 340 AD was not complicated. It was specific, and the specificity is what modern science kept getting wrong. The technique is called cold infusion, and it is the key to unlocking the plant's power without destroying it. Here is the method. Take a handful of dried Artemisia annua leaves, approximately 5 to 9 grams. Place them in about 1 liter of cold or room temperature water. Do not use hot water. Do not boil it. Let it soak for a minimum of 12 hours. Some traditional preparations recommend 24 hours. After soaking, wring out the plant material. Squeeze every drop of liquid from the leaves. Drink the entire infusion. Why cold water? Because the endoperoxide bridge, the molecular bomb that makes artemisinin deadly to parasites, is destroyed by heat. Temperatures above 60 degrees Celsius break the bridge before it ever reaches your bloodstream. This is why modern scientists failed for years. They followed standard extraction protocols. They boiled it, and they destroyed the weapon. Gu Hong knew this in 340 AD. Modern science did not figure it out until 1971. One critical warning: do not combine Artemisia with iron supplements. Remember, the plant hunts iron. If you flood your system with supplemental iron while taking Artemisia, you create chaos. The compound may react with the free iron in your bloodstream instead of targeting parasites or abnormal cells. The precision is lost. Traditional preparations were taken on an empty stomach, away from iron-rich meals. This is the forbidden manual, the one they said was too dangerous for you to have. The one that communities used safely for 1,600 years before the pharmaceutical industry decided you needed their permission. So here is where we stand. We have a plant used safely for 1,600 years, validated by a Nobel Prize in 2015, proven to hunt and kill parasites faster than any drug on the market, showing massive potential against cancer cells that hoard the same iron. And yet the gatekeepers tell you it is dangerous to grow it in your garden. They tell you the whole plant is irresponsible. They call it unstandardized when they mean uncontrollable. A plant that grows for free cannot be patented. A plant that anyone can prepare cannot generate recurring revenue. A community that heals itself is a community that no longer needs the cartel. Is wormwood a miracle cure-all? No. Does it have limitations? Absolutely. Raw plant material does vary in artemisinin content based on growing conditions. But the question you have to ask is, who benefits from you not knowing about it? Not people in malaria-endemic regions who lack pharmaceutical access. Not cancer patients seeking affordable options. Not communities wanting healthcare sovereignty. The beneficiaries are pharmaceutical companies protecting market share, regulatory agencies maintaining institutional control, a medical-industrial complex that profits from your dependency. One packet of seeds costs $5. One pharmaceutical prescription costs hundreds of dollars. One generation of knowledge passed down versus a lifetime of waiting for permission. In 2015, Tu Yiyu said, "Artemisinin is a true gift from old Chinese medicine. A gift, not a product, not a patent. A gift that Guhong wrapped in parchment 1,600 years ago and left for anyone wise enough to read the instructions. They can ban a bottle, they can discourage a tea, but they cannot patent a weed. The knowledge that survived emperors, dynasties, and revolutions is now in your hands. What you do with it is yours. If this vault opens something for you, subscribe to